Now then, well, the latest installment of Red Army TV. Hey, look, Yaff is only back in the gaff. I've had a couple of days away, but look, lots to talk about. Got two fantastic guests. Got friend of the show, Mr. Adam Bragg. Great to have you back, mate.
Good to have you back, mate.
I know, and look, Red Army's very own Foxy in the box. Foxy, how are you, mate?
I'm good, good evening.
Look, loads to chat about. One thing I do want to chat about just before we kick off, all right? I've been over that there pond, haven't I? I've been to that there Disney.
Talking out there.
I only met a Boro fan from Chicago.
We get everywhere, man.
Boro fans get everywhere. I couldn't believe it. I was sat at me breakfast, met these guys called Carl. Carl, if you're watching, hope you and your family are fantastic. Managed to give him a Boro shirt while I was out there. Been a Boro fan, I think, since about 2004. Comes from Dutch origin, so he was saying to me, you know, it was the players like Hasselbank, Zenden, Boateng, which got him involved looking at the Boro. But look, he's the Chicago posse, as I like to say. So,
nice.
Hey, keep the
real.
faith, mate. Keep it real. Keep supporting the Boro. But fellas, we've got loads to chat about, haven't we? I was out there sunning myself and I thought, this is doom and gloom here. Because now it was going for us. I'd looked at the highlights of the Forest game. I'm not going to go back over it, but I thought we were decent, you know, decent performance. Maybe got it nicked, was it, wasn't it? But I'm not going to chat about that because Charlton, for me, it saved the day. And I did put a little video on, Adam, while I was out there, and I said, look, I thought we had about 8 or 10 points to play for with the games that we had left.
Yeah.
So that, and I must admit to you, that wasn't one of them. So Woody, I know he watches Yaff's Gaff, Foxy. Do you know what I mean? He's listening. He's listening to us. We have to just keep the faith. But look, loads to chat about. Boro went down to Charlton. Not a nice place to go to be honest. Charlton 0, Boro 1. Foxy, I'll start with you. McNair goal. Did we dominate as much as the press have told us we dominated?
Yes, to a point, I think. I think we've... But then, I mean, story of our season, I think we've dominated a lot of games and not got the points out of them that we've deserved to get out of them. So, yeah, I think this was one of them games where we went there, we didn't fear them, we took it to them. You've mentioned Forest, we're not going to go into that. We had a kind of banana skin again with that, where we should have saw it home. And we've gone there, he's kept faith in the team, played 4 at the back again, and played Gested again, which I like. I like that he's decisive with what he wants to do, whether other people don't want him to do it or not, and he's getting something out of it. So I think the way we set up definitely helped us dominate that game. I think if we'd have gone there with a 3-5-2 or maybe try to attack it a little bit more, I don't know. We're not going to go in the ins and outs of it. We might not have got that result. It might have ended up being a draw. We were never looking like getting beat there, though.
No, and do you know what, Adam?
Psychologically, it's done us the world of good, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, I only seen the highlights, and the highlights were as if Boro were the home side, really. Because some of the interplay, certainly from wing, could have had a couple of goals, all but it felt it was left foot, didn't it? But look, he got the shots off. Yeah. But him and Gested looked really good, didn't they?
They did. Gested seemed to make the whole thing work. There was a lot of movement between the front four, I suppose, if you include wing in that. But I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I know we're not going to talk about Forest, but for me, Forest epitomised what's been wrong with our season.
Yeah.
Slow start, not getting in the game, then not being able to kill a game off, and then at the same time conceding late goals. And the thing that happened at Charlton was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
We got the first goal, we made chances. Yes, we still need to kill the game off and early.
Yeah.
And then we held on, we dug in. And I think that for me is what's got me getting goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because it was a big performance. It's what we needed. I was really full of anger and aggression going into that game. And at the end of it, I felt like a bit of relief that I felt we've turned a corner. And if we can keep doing that, especially these next few games coming up, Swansea, Sheffield Wednesday, Hull, Stoke. These are games we.
Well, fellas, they were the games when you know, like I say, when I was out over there and I was looking at things what were going on, I was thinking and look, people come on there, you know, people love me, people hate me, but I was saying just keep the faith because I think there's enough points there for us to be safe, and that's what I was trying to get across. They were the type of games I was looking at, Adam. You know, the games you've just said there. Yeah. I didn't think we'd go. I was thinking if we go down to Charlton and get a point, it's a good springboard for us to go into them games, because Charlton fighting for their life. Lee Bowyer, a bit of a battler, isn't he? He liked it. But for me, I totally agree with you, fellas. I thought that we dominated the full game. The good thing for me is let's start from the back.
Well, he's brought in Stevanovic, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Big call.
You know, massive call when the young lads made a mistake against Forest. Has he made a mistake? Was it a free kick? Well, look, we can go on all day about that. We didn't get it.
And he's allowed that because he's been blistering since he started, and
yeah. But we didn't bring a goalkeeper with, and let's be honest, he's an experienced goalkeeper.
Yeah, and he hasn't
got a whippersnapper.
Yeah, he's not been playing much, has he?
Was it the right call, Adam?
But do you know what? It was interesting. Had he had a stinker and we got beat, it'd have been the worst call in the world.
Yeah.
But I think what it's done is, I just watched when I was watching the game. I thought that Shotton and McCoody seemed to work better with him, and I think the biggest thing is bringing Shotton back. I've been crying out all sort of since Christmas that we really miss Ayala, and I think Shotton has just stepped up to the plate a little bit. Too many little silly mistakes. Dale Fry made a few errors in the course of his time leading up to his injury, and there's been too many errors. Yes, I thought we were great with the midfielders playing at the back, and we shouldn't have fixed what wasn't broken. But the fact that now a proper centre half is playing alongside another proper centre half, it's starting to look right for me.
And it's giving McNair the licence back that he needs, because he's a midfield, he's the link man, and we need that. And as you quite rightly said, they look brilliant in defence. To just slip in and do what they've done. Howson, McNair, brilliant. And I don't see any other clubs around the country doing that if they have to. But the Shotton for me, he's a centre back. He's not a full back, and if he's going to play, he looks solid, decent there. I still think he's a bit of a headless chicken when the ball's at him in the box, but as a defender, as somebody who's going to centre back, definitely. But
yeah, he's an old-fashioned defender.
Yeah.
Hey, look, you can hear what we've got to say here in the snug, here at Yaff's Gaff, but you can get involved as well on social media. Get your messages in. I'll read them out if I can. If you keep them right, I can read them out, because you can join us on social media as well as Teesside TV. So keep the messages coming in, fellas. There's loads to chat about Charlton, to be fair, and I'm a bit like you, Adam. I was sort of, although I was travelling back, I was sort of like, it was like the start of the season again for me. You know, I thought the game was really high, and I thought it was high for some. Because I'm boring, even when I'm on holiday, I'm reading lots of stuff on social media. I'm watching lots of vlogs. I'm watching lots of listening to podcasts and things like that about the Boro. And some people were saying, if this doesn't go right down at Charlton, if it's a Tonkin, he's gone.
I think so. I was in agreement. It was, for me, it was his last chance saloon. I've said to you before, haven't I, that I think he's been dealt a bad hand. Gibson's left him on his own with very little to do, a poor squad. Not poor in terms of ability, people, but poor in terms of it's ill-balanced, it's all over the place. We know what deficiencies we've got, and I think he's been given a bum deal by Gibson, and he's done the best he can do, but he isn't probably up to the job. And twice this season I've felt this is probably his last chance. Charlton was his last chance for me. But I've seen enough to think, right, start from there.
There's 100%, and we've said it all year, there's a great manager in there, there's a great coach in there, and there's things that he's done along the season where he's made changes at times when other managers may not have done. And I'll use Pulis, for example, who maybe play the safe card. He's gambled. Gested's an example of that. Young keepers is an example of that. But within that, there's also been where we can't have Middlesbrough, where he's a new guy with new backroom staff in a job that's already tough for an experienced guy. We can't be a project where if he gets it right and we go down, we're all happy. We're not that club. If it was a club that had just come up and changed the manager, I'll use Barnsley as the example, and they go straight back down, the fans will probably stick with you. But where we've been, where we're going, the money we've had spent the last 4 years, we should be looking up there. So, all that being said, he's toed the line well, but still, there's been times this year where I've thought, maybe this is a little bit bigger job for you than he should be right now. You need somebody to come in, maybe a Harry Redknapp, we've talked about that, or maybe it's something where you're still in control and you've got a guy that you know well, who you've played for, etc., who's a personality, who knows what he's doing, kept Birmingham up, but then within that, there's also been times, like you say, where you've thought, actually, is this too much? And he went to Charlton, he kept faith. We got a 0 there, we scored early, which is another thing psychologically for us. We score early, we're definitely conceding. And we've come out with there, they've had a few chances, but everybody's done what they need to do. And we now moving on, Swansea at home, no reason why that can't be a win. But
bad travellers, aren't they?
Very bad, but he's earning his stripes.
Well, fellas, I've said it many times on this show, and I've also said it many times on old Red Army Radio just next door. I sort of looked at the early part of Woody's reign as a bit like the Mowbray era, because a lot of people, and it's wherever you sit on the fence on it, in my opinion, Mowbray was thrown under a little bit of bus by our own club.
Look what he's doing at Blackburn.
Yeah, look what he's done, and a lot of people say, anyone can go to Celtic and win. The thing is, he's a proven good manager, and here he just didn't have the resources to do it.
He took West Brom up.
I was hoping that Woody can turn that corner. I'm open. And we're going to chat more after break. We're going to go into a little break for Teesside TV very, very shortly. We've got loads to chat about. Keep your messages coming in on social media as well. Going to read a few of them out after the break as well. I can see you all, chomping at the bit to get involved. It's absolutely fantastic that you do. But after the break, look, we've got players coming back. Swansea rolling into town. We're going to finish off on Charlton. Still a bit to talk about Charlton. The likes of McNair and Gestead certainly need chatting about. Gestead, could he be the saviour of the season? I'll tell you what, join us after the break on Red Army TV, where we'll chat more Boro next. Welcome back to Red Army TV. Got two great guys to chat all things, but got Fox in the box and Adam, got a question for you here. Well, I'm going to go straight to social media, fellas, if you don't, Marc, 'cause there's loads of people trying to get involved. One from Nick Matthews. We're going to come back to it, but Nick was first in. Said, "Great show, Yaff, as always. Thanks, mate. Can you ask Adam if he's heard any rumours about why Spence was dropped from the squad?" We'll come back to that, mate. Joe McPartland saying, with Fry and co back from injury, will that change things again, and could it bite us on the bum? We'll have a chat about that as well. Ibrahim Tanner said, we need to keep this up. No good putting in a blinder, then dropping points next time round. Can't agree more with you, mate. Mohamed Ibra's been on. Charlton game has given us some life and hope. Woodgate has to go at the end of the season. Don't want another season like this again. Well, we'll try and mull that over as well, I think. Peter Grasham, I was glad he put the other keeper in, not that Pears had said that he brought him back in and no pressure on Pears. Like the look of the new central defender, reminds me of the Chelsea centre-back as well. I think he means McCoody there, doesn't he? Looks a class act, by the way. And last but certainly not least, John Gaunt, would he need to get through this year? He'll have learned so much this year, and then he can have a summer with a bit of money in. And to address the squad he's got.
You're talking on
It's just there I was chatting the break.
It was the verge, Good point, fair point.
I want to go back to the first. I'm trying to get the gentleman's name. Who I think it was Nick Matthews.
Yeah.
Nick asked, what were your thoughts, Adam, on the Spence being dropped?
Well, the rumours doing the rounds was that his attitude, having been subbed at home to Luton, had given Woodgate reason to have a go at him, and his attitude having had a go at meant that Woodgate made a decision to drop him. I think that's completely wrong. We were talking in the break to say that we don't feel that Woodgate's made the same mistake twice, which I'll probably go with that, but I think he has made a couple of mistakes I wouldn't have. For me, at that time, we'd found a way of playing. Yeah. You do not change that way of playing if it's successful. And he made 3 or 4 decisions for me, trying to bring a centre-half back in too quick in George Friend, trying to bring McCoody in, and poor McCoody played with 5 different partners in a number of games, especially that game at home. Was it Luton when... Roberts got injured and then Fry got injured. I think it was, I can't forget which game it was. But for me, you don't change a winning formula. And regardless of what he'd done, he's a young lad. I'd have pulled him to one side, had a chat with him quietly, carried on playing him. We'll never know what the full story is. It might have been beyond beyond being able to fix it. But no, I wouldn't have changed it.
But look, Adam, like everything, we're not savvy. We're not in the back pocket of the Boro. It's only rumour and conjecture, like we said. We're just trying to say, if it was that, I agree with you. Probably only a couple of times I can have a go in my own opinion about Woody's man management, and maybe that's one of them. Could have been dealt with a little bit differently if that's the case. Like you say, we'd found a sort of formula with him, hadn't we? And then suddenly, I mean, over the Christmas period, Woody came out and said how fantastic he invited him round his house for Christmas dinner because obviously he's away from his family and things like that, and that he was really looking after the kid. So look.
Can I throw a curveball in there quickly?
Go on then, Foxy. That's what you're here for, mate.
Do we think that it's slightly, being a young kid and hitting the scene the way he has, that the rumours of Tottenham want you, of maybe he's thought, I'm better than this.
Well, he must have recognised how well he played.
Yeah, he's got to read the press, isn't he? He's a young kid. He'll be tuned into social media.
Look, mate, players are like every other man at work, they know when they've had a good one. They can stand in front of cameras and tell them make excuses all day long, but they know when they've had a stinker as well.
Yeah. But I think that, Lord, and I think you mentioned it in the break as well, is that's the way the management side comes in, is being able to deal with that situation, but you're still letting the player play.
Yeah.
Because really, when it was the Luton game, I think there was worse players on the pitch.
Yeah, and we're not Real Madrid where you can do that to a player to teach him a lesson because the replacement's probably just as good. Yeah. We're struggling at the foot of the table.
We've just got the formula right.
We've just got something right.
And Joe McPartlin made a fantastic point on the social media. Obviously, in the press, Dale Fry, Patrick Roberts. Patrick Roberts, I was absolutely, over the moon that he was playing, came to the Boro on loan and things like that. So
he looks frightening.
He looks a fantastic player. Is that going to cause us some problems, though, Adam? Because do they need to play?
Do you know what? We talked about this, didn't we, at the start of the season? I've joked with my friends and the family that Woodgate didn't know what his best team was and his best formation was. And fair enough, at the beginning of the season, you can allow him that. Yeah. And the table was lying, and we did see performances, and we thought, yeah, okay. Then when the injuries came, you thought, oh no, we're in a mess here. But we found something that worked for maybe 6 or 7, 8, 9 games over the festive period. And then slowly things started to revert, and he was starting to have to make decisions. And that's when, for me, it's gone wrong. Now, I think we've now got to the point where he has got a better squad, players fit, he can choose a couple of centre-halves. Roberts has to get back in that team because of what he offered, even if perhaps it's at the expense of maybe wing.
Tav for me.
Tav who can be great, works hard, but too often.
Every 6.
I mean, we were talking about just Stead on against Charlton and McNair and the chances that we had. I think a lot of the wasted chances was Tav.
Yeah, and I think you could argue throughout the season how many chances we've missed with certain players where do they earn a right to come back in? And Sombalonga's one. Yeah. Would you have thrown him back in against Charlton? Somebody else might. As you said, he's been brave. He's kept Stead in, and can we build something off him like you've mentioned?
Just while we're chatting about Tav, I mean, Nick Matthews has been back on and said, Marcus Tavernier, how has he held his place in the team in the past few games? He's been somewhat frustrating in a polite term, he said. So, do you know what? I've got to tend to agree with him. He's a bit hit and miss, Tav. And I can remember saying something on the radio round about 3 months ago when I was saying, you know what, he can't pass a ball for toffee. He can't get he was taking corners at one stage and couldn't get the ball over the first man. Yeah. But then he would do a flash of brilliance, and then people forget about that. Well, I don't, because I'm, I've been around the block a bit, and I'm thinking, you're just not. Look, there's no doubt that he is a fantastic player. He's just not polished, is he?
No.
And I think we've got better in and around the club at the minute.
Yeah.
Not that I want Tav to leave. I think he's a great asset to the club. But I think you talk about Patrick Roberts, you talk about McNair. For me, both of them would start over.
Yeah.
Over. And unfortunately, as much as I love Lewis Wing, because I love Northern League football and I love where he's come from, but I agree with you, Adam. I think Patrick Roberts is a quality
without a doubt.
Yeah.
And the difference is
above.
And the difference what we're talking about here, and you've mentioned it with Tav, is Tav's a runner, he can beat a man, but he won't very often. He's not strong enough. Roberts has got all of that. He can pass, he can beat a man. He's got everything you want from a man in the middle who's a number 10, who has to open up space somehow, and whether that's beating a man, whether that's passing it, opening it up with a good ball. But as you say now with Wing and Tav, he's talking about how well Ravel Morrison's playing in training and how he's crying out.
I was going to make that point. The Metcher looks like you can't trap a bag of sand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there must be something he's seeing in Tav week in, week out that he keeps picking him ahead of Nemetcher and Ravel Morrison, who he has said has been exceptional in training, both his attitude and his talent. Yeah. So why is he not getting a chance?
And every manager that's had Morrison has said the same thing. It's how talented the player is. He's the most talented player I've ever seen. Attitude's wrong. We've got him. Attitude's right. What are we waiting for?
Why is he not playing?
My only concern on the Ravel Morrison thing, and I can't agree with you more, fellas, he is a great player. Sir Alex Ferguson is rarely wrong about players, and you know what he said about Ravel Morrison. But is he a luxury player? Is he something we need when we're where we are in the league? If we were...
You could argue that with Roberts.
You could, but his end product is better.
It is, but what I think with Morrison is, I think he's another one, and I think Tav's in exactly the same boat, where they're both people that need to be told you're my main man. And I think if you make that your main man, and you put everything into them, we'll see performances from them. Morrison more than Tav, I think, because I don't think Tav's strong enough. That's been a question mark on him for a while, and he doesn't show it enough. But with Morrison, all the right things are coming out, and I think if you tell him how much you want him, and you give him and you tell him where you want him to play, because he's talked about keeping him high up the pitch. I think he talked about the Luton game or the Wigan game where he would drop down because he wants the ball all the time, and then there's no one there.
Well, fellas, we've got a couple of minutes left on the show, and obviously I'm going to have a quick prediction on Swansea coming into town at the weekend.
Pass.
I just want to, obviously, breaking news today in the media was that the club had made a £2 million profit overall, and it was down to the likes of
Tony Pulis,
Traore, Pulis sorting the books out.
The accountant. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, and the likes of the Ben Gibson sale and things like that. Looking at that, do we think then, looking at the club, looking at Bulk All's accounts, Mr. Gibson's Bulk All other business accounts, just before that, what was it, about 4 months ago, they were doing okay. Does it mean Woody might have a bit to spend?
No. When you look deeper into the accounts, we're in a mess. That £2 million profit is only because we sold those players on.
Yeah, prize assets.
Yeah, revenue is up very slightly, but only very slightly.
Season tickets.
Next season tickets are going to be down. We haven't got anyone to sell really this season because all of our prize assets really are out of contract.
Yeah.
So we haven't got anything to sell. So we're going to have a season next season, I think, where we're going to be back in the red, rather than £2 million in profit. And I think that shows how much of a mess we're in.
So, fellas, as always on the show, always goes too quick, Foxy, doesn't it, this show?
We can do this for an hour.
Yeah,
we need some more time off Teesside TV, don't we? But look, very quickly, I want a prediction for Swansea. And will Gestead play? Quick prediction, will Gestead play?
Yes, 100%. The same team will start that finished the Charlton game, started the Charlton game, and I genuinely think it's got a 0 in it, but I hope it's not us. I don't know anymore because I don't think it'll be a high scoring
Adam,
game.
will he play? What's the score?
Gestead will play, we'll win 2-0. Gestead will score.
Well, I'll tell you now, as I always do, fellas, I'll sit on the fence. Gestead will play. The Boro will win 4-2 with a hat-trick for Gestead.
I love it.
Hey, I'll tell you now.
He's had too much time on an aeroplane.
It's the sun. It's the sun.
Together. When he's Mickey Mouse, he's been to Disneyland.
And on that bombshell, fellas, thank you very much for joining me in Yaff's Gaff.
Cheers, Yaff.
See you all next week on Red Army TV. Can we do it? See ya.